Hi, good afternoon. So he stole my line, like everybody is just dozing after the lunch. But I have something special for you. So let's get into this. I like to define things. So when I wanted to define productivity, I went to the book of data and book of data engineering, especially in the era of AI, Gen AI, LLM, and especially after lunch is you can sing with me. The book of data is long and boring, right? With lots of charts and pipeline failures and some instructions of mapping as well, right? But I can assure you that I can make it interesting for you. So let's get into the book of data. Now we can establish one thing, what we don't want the definition of productivity. For sure, no new jargon. Definitely Dilbert agrees with us. Now, also we don't want data engineers to be only defined by the data pipelines that we maintain, we create, and then we manage just the data pipelines. That's not what I want data engineers to be defined by. So what do we define the productivity, right? So for me, the impact that we bring as a data engineer is all about optimizing this engineering process, right? And so that we can deliver this amazing experience to the users with agility in fast as soon as possible, and with the high quality data, which is accessible and usable by all our stakeholders. So let's dissect this. And if we dissect, we come up with these three things that we triangulate the whole productivity with speed, ease of access, and the quality of data. And we know our stakeholders, right? We love our stakeholders. If we go through that, the productivity triangulates across these three key parameters or attributes. So we want to do more of the speed, the ease of access with the high quality data, but we have another dimension to it as well. So we want to make sure that we are price performant. We want to make sure that in this macroeconomics environment, we are doing more with less. So we want to minimize the cost as well. So it's always a challenge. I remember a customer down here in Sydney, they were obsessed by what's the per attribute cost that you have to bring source data into a data warehouse. So definitely cost is top of mind when we talk about data engineer productivity. Now, when we have this equation, I think about one of the conversation with one of the CTO, and he was saying that why do data people do things so differently that they don't think out of the box or are very far behind in an engineering process. So I thought we should look into some other engineering areas, what we can find there. So when I look to automobile industry, from 1901, Olds created this mobile, this curved dash mobile, and he created that concept of assembly line in automobile industry where he quadrupled his production. So that's the speed, and making sure that he moved from 400 units to around 2,000 units. Now, fast forward, we all know Henry Ford, he revolutionized this whole concept around the assembly line techniques. And this has been a standard for the whole last century. And he was conscious about the cost, ease of access, and he was conscious about the mass production, where he accelerated this whole production of Model T from making sure that we deliver around 15 million units. But now we have a new boy in town. So if we see an example of Tesla, they have, after a century, where dinosaurs operate with Toyota and Mercedes and other ones, they are thinking out of the box with the startup mentality and challenging that assembly line process. They have introduced a different process, moving from linear process to a more modular and distributed approach, what they call unboxing experience. And they have been named the most productive automobile plant in North America, right? So if we go, they have massively hit on all the attributes that we have defined for our productivity with mass amount of production, 5,000 Model Ys in a week, reducing the cost from 86,000 to 36K, massive cost reduction. So can we take something out of it? When we think about this whole engineering process and we want to bring the assembly line concept, the whole idea is how we can learn from it we have an assembly line where we want the data to reach to our stakeholder as soon as possible, how we can enable that. And then we have an iterated process, a modular approach, a collaboration that happens on each workstation in this assembly line, and we embed these processes, automate these processes, but we need to have a governance around that. So we thought about this at Microsoft, how we can learn from these concepts, and we bring in something special for you, which is how we bring the concepts from assembly line and make it more productive for the data engineers, but making sure that we are infusing the concepts, similar concept that you see in other frameworks like data mesh. So Microsoft Fabric, what we announced during the build this year, it has the potential that it accelerates that whole process of data engineering in the era of AI. And it builds on the foundation of unified intelligent data foundation of one lake, that lakehouse-centric approach, which caters for all the workloads, all the analytical workloads that you can bring in onto the platform. Then we talk about how do we empower these users. So with intuitive experiences, we cater all the business users, all analysts, data scientists in a single pane of glass. And last but not the least, which is top of mind again, how do we infuse that AI, generative AI, with the Copilot assistance, and we can make sure that we are delivering on our promises. So let's go into a bit more detail what we have built for you, the whole platform. We'll dissect into the assembly line and definitely look into AI features. With assembly line, so this one lake is our assembly line where we want to make sure that as a data engineer, I can bring my data as soon as possible into the system, right? We remove this whole feature of integration tags, applying security controls and the guardrails in different systems, in different silos. So it's one place in one lake where you apply this one security concept, which is honored by that whole universal compute. So we don't want data engineers to be managing the data infrastructure. We don't want you to be spending time integrating these moving parts of different compute for different forms of data. That's where we bring in that you should be more productive when you are delivering the accessible analytics. And that's what we bring when we define this unified compute capacity, a serverless compute on top of that unified data foundation. When we talk about our assembly line process, you need to have those workstations, right? So people can work. And we bring that concept of shared workspaces that enables that curation, iterative curation of data products on that assembly line. With those workspaces, they become your data domains where you constantly iterate those data products and certify this. And definitely from the ground up, all these experiences are infused and assisted by AI. Talking about the real separation between the compute and one lake, the one lake brings in that for any type of data, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, that's your home for any kind of data that you want to bring in on that assembly line as soon as possible. So we align with the open standard format, no proprietary lock-in. Tesla did that, so they open sourced their assembly process. So we definitely want to go with no proprietary lock-in. Delta Parquet is the format. That's the native on one lake. Then we have the serverless compute. If you want big data processing, Spark cluster, SQL cluster, you don't have to think about it. It's just optimized to your persona. If you are a data engineer, you want to bring the data in, big data processing, you can go through that endpoint and it would spin up a Spark cluster for you. If you're more familiar with T-SQL, you want to run those SQL queries, you have a serverless compute for SQL engine. That's the most performant in that unified compute layer, which simplifies the cost, so it's price performant as well for all these workloads. And not just this, all your real-time analytics as well as our stock standard analysis services as well. If you bring it forward, the extra sauce that we bring in, so we announce the direct lake concept from this assembly line. It's not just the ease of access to bring the data into the assembly line. But when we talk about enabling these business stakeholders, your consumers, you get the most performant Delta Parquet format, which has a secret sauce of reordering that we apply that enables these workloads more faster than any method currently on Power BI. Direct query and import mode can't compete with this direct lake mode. And no intermediate database engine or compute that you require to access this data. And I'm not talking about a small data set. This is the petabyte scale that you can bring in just connecting directly to one lake through Power BI. Now, I talk about bringing that whole assembly line concept, and I'm maybe obsessed by this, but when you think about, we do honor the data gravity. We do understand that we would meet the customers in a different journey at a different point in time. And it's not physically possible every time for every use case that you bring all this data, all the data movement and the migration has to happen. So we bring in the concept that you can not just share and collaborate within those workspaces or your stations within the one lake, but you can bring the concept of shortcuts that you can link not just to Azure native storage, but also going to the third-party cloud as well. So as of now, in public preview, you can connect all your S3 buckets into the one lake, and it becomes that federated, unified data foundation for you. We bring in the concepts of these data domains, which enables that granular control over that subject area specific or business specific controls on that area. So you could have multiple workspaces for certain data domain. It could be sales, marketing, where you have one-to-many workspaces and you can manage the access control there. Now, going forward, what you want is that you don't want a data swarm, despite that you're going with the lake house. You need that governance. So with that lineage control, you have all the impact analysis and risk analysis that you can do with the data hub. The way, and we love to show the pipeline, so I had to force myself to show something to you. So you don't have just one method. So with the data gravity, which lies anywhere else, you can bring the shortcut methodology and then bring that data as soon as possible to the lakehouse. So you can iterate on this data product, but you can also use the pipelines and data flows. For data warehousing, again, we are aiming the vision where you can even attach and you can mount your database engines into your data warehouse on Fabric. We introduced a data activator. So when we talk about the quality, like this is the system of detection. And Chad mentioned that, yes, the monitoring is kind of a reactive mode. So if you have, it's not just for the data quality, but also for all your measures, all your insights, if you want to monitor them and trigger workflows and notification, Data Activator can help you to create those workflows. Amazing startup times, blazing speed with which you can attach your notebooks. Less than 5 seconds, you have those live tables that you can attach immediately to your notebooks. And the Spark cluster, you would be amazed by the performance that you would see. And all other experiences are built with the performance in mind. We have auto-tuning using AI. All your previous jobs, Spark runs, they would auto-tune and optimize for your next run, drastically reducing that cost as well as the performance. No, sorry, not the performance. So, and with the collaboration that needs to happen on that assembly line, when you pass this data product from one stakeholder to the next stakeholder, from one team to the next team, that's where we are enabling the lakehouse and data warehousing sharing within Fabric with the one lake. We have a data wrangler experience. We don't want you to bring the garbage in, so you need to have the power of Power Query to analyze the data. You have the power of data exploration with all the rich visualization and immersive exploration that you can do on in that whole scenarios of data science as well as data engineering. And then when we think about the cost, you can analyze the cost with the metrics app and all the reporting of all these workloads, the Spark clusters that you're running, all the artifacts, so that you can make this informed decision around the scaling up and then how do you want to manage your clusters and workloads. And then lastly, As I mentioned, the AI is being infused in every persona, in every interface, not just from assisting the developer experience, but also from that you can create your own generative AI apps using your own data, as well as you have the AI insights that we light up through different visuals with Power BI. We've talked about Data Factory, where you don't just get the recommendation and assistance with writing the code, but you can have a natural language assistance so that you can create all those pipelines by just describing it in natural language. And schedule and create those workflows. With that speed and ease of access being infused into the data warehousing construct, you can not just write the code faster with that SQL suggestions and inline code, and you can describe the code, but the best feature that you would see that we would enable the migration of different data warehouses using the generative AI so that you can just talk to that data, how do I bring this whole migration, which is a real pain that I have seen in my last 16 years of professional career. With the notebook experience in Copilot, you can describe the code. There's a massive issue with the technical debt, how we can make you more productive. So you can ask the generative AI to describe that code. You can also ask the Copilot to suggest a code. You can also do, you can summarize or even document the code and then have the commenting done. And lastly, with all the buzz around the LLM, so we announced that open source semantic kernel that enables you that you can create your generative AI apps on your data with all the guardrails and the most comprehensive governance and compliant responsible AI features that we bring with Azure OpenAI. So with semantic kernel and Fabric, you can create all this experience on your own data. Either it's a custom Q&A, or if you want to create those chat experience with the Teams chat or through other interfaces. It uses the AI Copilot stack, as you see. So you create those AI plugins and extend that capability and bring in any open source LLM or Azure OpenAI LLM that you can infuse and then talk to your data with natural language. Now, call to action. I would highly encourage Microsoft Fabric is in public preview right now. So you can just hop on and sign up for a 60-day trial. If you are already a Power BI premium customer, you don't have to do anything. It's all enabled for you. So you don't spend anything. It's all enabled for you, and it's free for use till 1st of October. If you are an Azure customer, you can get the free trial enabled through Azure portal. You can create those capacities, Fabric capacities in Azure portal that you can then assign to your workspaces on that assembly line. So I'll just pause here if you have any question. Otherwise, we'll just sign off with just video.
The full potential of your data. With Copilot integrated into every data experience, Microsoft Fabric lets you use natural language to bring your data to life. From integrating data to writing code to finding insights and creating reports, new transformative AI experiences work alongside you every step of the way, so you can stay focused on getting value from your data. Copilot helps turn your words into data flows and data pipelines, so you can intelligently integrate data from anywhere. When writing code, Copilot automatically suggests code and entire functions in real time, and Copilot can guide you to create machine learning models to unlock insights in your data. Just by chatting with Copilot, you can visually explore your data to create stunning reports, discover insights, and summarize your data into easy-to-understand text narratives for sharing. With Copilot, you can turn insight into action with triggers that monitor your data and notify users. You can even create your own custom natural language experiences that combine Azure OpenAI models and your organization's data, and easily publish your creations as plugins. And with your data in Fabric, Copilot provides insights and answers everywhere work gets done. Most importantly, Microsoft Cloud runs on trust, which means your data always remains your data. Bring your data into the era of AI with Microsoft Fabric.